Hello, hello. Welcome into Wellness Wednesday. Hope you guys are having a great week so far. I love to come in here every Wednesday to answer a question or to talk about a different topic that I feel like is something I hear a lot about. And so that's what I'm going to do today. So today I want to talk about vitamin D specifically, and also about how do we know if what we're ingesting, as far as if we take supplements or whatnot, if they're actually working. So I've tried to condense this down to a good, maybe 15 minutes here, and so this won't be super comprehensive, but I just want to give you some things to think about, because disclaimer. Some things I might say might be different than you've heard in the past, or it might be something that you just want to go look further into, which I really, really am a big proponent of. I just want to give you some things to think about, and you just continue to learn. That's kind of, we're always on this learning/unlearning journey. So let's talk about vitamin D first. So vitamin D is something that we've probably more recently maybe heard more about, and it's something that we've been told, low levels are linked to more disease or more sickness, and it's a supplement that we need to take. Most people can benefit from more vitamin D. So I'm not saying that's incorrect, but I want to give you some different things to think about. In the whole grand scheme of things, everything you take affects a lot of other things. So that's why it's important to kind of understand this, so that we don't just blindly go into megadose with different supplements that we could take, vitamin D being one of those supplements. So low vitamin D is something that has been linked to disease in the past, or sickness, you could say. But I just want you to think about it maybe differently. What if low vitamin D, is actually a cause of disease, but not a consequence of it? So really what we're trying to look at is what's the balance going on in the body? Is this really a sign of imbalance in the body? So that's kind of the lens I want to look at this from. So just think maybe of vitamin D more as a measure of your metabolic health, and not just a reason to down a supplement every day. And I think it's I'm saying that vitamin D is important, but I want to go about it in a different way. And I want you to get to your levels to be right for you in the most effective and efficient way. And just keep in mind also that they have recently they have changed what low is. So say you have a low vitamin D level, they've actually increased what the vitamin D level in our body should be. It actually used to be a lot lower, and probably should be a lot lower. So you have to keep that in mind as well. But in the whole approach to our health in general, I just find that instead of trying to strong arm our health into where we want it to be, oftentimes it's good to take more of a softer approach to work with our body, instead of trying to just get it to do what we want it to do. And oftentimes we do that because it's easier, we're busy. Somebody just said take the supplement and maybe we won't get sick as often, so we're going to take the supplement. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I just want to hopefully help you to see maybe other things that are impacted by just taking this supplement. And there's others, but we're focusing on vitamin D today. So a couple of reasons why it might not be great to just blindly start taking vitamin D supplement. Or maybe even if your levels are low, if they told you your levels are low, why it might be a good idea to just think about the whole, how it affects other things in your body. First off, vitamin D lowers potassium, and that can actually cause a lot of other things to go on. Just a few to mention here: constipation, fatigue, nervousness, anxiety, insomnia, bloating. There's others, but again, for sake of time, just a few. So it can lower potassium. It can mess with your calcium. It actually causes calcium to absorb. It actually causes your body to absorb more calcium, which you want your calcium in your bones and teeth, right? So it can make it go into where it shouldn't go in your body, into your tissues, into your blood. This can mess with your thyroid, and of course it can cause osteoporosis and other types of joint pain. Next is iron. I actually talked about iron last week, and I'm kind of looking all over the place here because I got 2 different videos going, so if you're wondering about that. But I talked about iron last week, and I talked about how, I think I mentioned this in the video, about how vitamin D is a direct antagonist to vitamin A. And so vitamin A, just a little recap here, vitamin A is needed, the active form of vitamin A is actually needed to do a lot of things in your body, but one of the main things is to transport copper and iron. And so that is, our body needs vitamin A, and we don't actually get the active form from very many food sources. And so that is something that oftentimes we're going to need more of, and this vitamin D is a direct antagonist to it. That means it's going to lower vitamin A the more vitamin D we have. And so it does lower retinol, which is the active form of vitamin A, in the blood, and it also decreases the stores. The longer you use it, maybe say you're using a supplement, it actually decreases the stores in the liver, that's where the retinol is stored. So basically, this increases the need for vitamin A, which we already need more vitamin A, and this is just going to make that worse. So those are just a few reasons and how it affects some of the key things in our body. And you might be saying, well, why is potassium and why is calcium really a big deal? We're going to get to that. So aside from these symptoms, in the whole grand scheme of things, there are 4 macro minerals that kind of affect everything else. And those are sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. And so when those are off, no matter if like one's high, one's low, if they're all low, if they're all high, you want them to be in balance. So if some of those are off, really everything else is going to be off. So as it pertains to vitamin D, magnesium is something that will really help our body to better utilize vitamin D. It will help raise, when calcium and potassium are in the right amounts. So it's important to realize how all of this fits together and not just say, well, I'm going to stop taking vitamin D and go get me a magnesium supplement and start taking that. Because if you take magnesium and the other minerals are not in balance, especially those 4, you could actually further stress the adrenals. So it's just, instead of getting into this really deep, which we could and we can, I'm trying to help you to see how all of this really plays a part and kind of works together. So what do you do? Maybe you have tested and your vitamin D levels are low. Maybe you just have heard that you should take a supplement, right? The first thing that we can all benefit from is to just get outside. And I know that you have heard, obviously, the best way to get vitamin D is to be outside, and that is correct. And most of the time, if we are outside for around 20 minutes a day, we're going to have the vitamin D that we need. We don't really need to supplement unless something is causing it to be off. And a lot of times, it's these other balance of minerals that we have in our body that is making it be low if you're getting outside for 20 minutes a day. If you live in a really cold temperature, and they always say like you should supplement if you're above like a certain line in the United States. I believe it's Atlanta actually, and you live in like northern states or whatnot. And that is true. Like we need to kind of assess like how often are we able to get outside every day and really get this good vitamin D. So if you live in a really cold temperature, if you live in really cold temps, you need to think about getting something like a sun lamp. That will help your body to make the vitamin D that it needs. So those are just some ideas about how we can do this in the best way. But one of the things that I mentioned was balancing your minerals. This is something that's really important that is often way overlooked because we just want to strong arm, right? We want to get there the fastest way that we can, and we want to. Maybe you've heard different people say different things, but to get to where you want to go in general, you really need to think about mineral balance as a whole. So the moral of the story is that I've learned it's not really best to take a vitamin D supplement blindly when you don't know where all of your other minerals are and you just have taken it because you've heard it's a great thing to take. Oftentimes though, just in general, not even just talking about vitamin D, a lot of times we have this list of things that we should be taking to ward off other things. And you guys probably know what I'm talking about. But all of that really impacts everything else. So I'm not a huge fan of giving you a list of supplements to take when I have no idea what else is going on. So that's just a great thing for you to keep in mind, and just to continue to dig in deeper as far as your own health goes. So I wanted to also talk about how can we know if what we are using is being absorbed correctly. And this is a question that I got, and it's a great question because it's kind of confusing, right? You hear all these different sources. You should be taking this. You shouldn't be taking this. This form's better than this, and yeah, it's confusing. So this is not a straightforward answer. So I'm sorry that it's not, but I don't think we should shy away from the question because I think it's really important. So I just want to start off with, in general, there's a couple of reasons why you might not be absorbing what you're taking in, whether that's food, whether that is supplements, anything like that. This is kind of across the board. So stress is going to cause your body not to absorb properly what you're taking in, whether that is just from real food, which obviously that's the best. That could be from supplements too. If you have toxicity, that is going to cause deficiency. No matter if you're doing everything perfect, toxicity causes deficiency. So if you overlook that and you even go and try to, test your minerals to see where you're at, really work hard on that, you're always going to sort of be off because of this underlying toxicity issue. Your gut health does play a part in this. So if you ingest some great food, right, you're eating all this healthy food, but you don't really have what you need to properly digest your food, then that's going to impact, what you're absorbing as well. Obviously, I already mentioned other minerals are out of balance, then that's going to cause, everything to be out of balance. And I mentioned mega dosing on things that are antagonistic to other things in your body. So we've already mentioned vitamin D, direct antagonist to vitamin A. That's going to impact other things, right? It's always, they're all connected. It's always kind of a chain reaction. So that's what I'm just trying to help you to see. And, obviously there are incorrect forms. If you're taking, a form that is not very easily absorbed by the body, then it really doesn't have any chance. So that's kind of some things to think about just right off the bat. But the long and short answer is you kind of have to do the best you can with what you know, but it's really great to consider getting your minerals tested to see where they're at, rather than just continuing to, it's great to dig and learn and all these things, but when you don't really know what's going on with you personally, you can only get so far. So that's really the best approach to take, is just see where you're at. It's not a very expensive test to do, so I like that it's affordable. And I'll talk a little bit more about it in just a minute. But obviously, just eat real food is a great place to start. Sometimes our diets are not perfect. No, nobody's diet is perfect. But sometimes we want to take these, a multivitamin or other things that we've heard that we need to take that most people are deficient in, but yet we're not really eating great either. And I just mean, like, fruits and vegetables have a lot of nutrients that our body needs, and they're in the best forms to be absorbed. They have the best chance of getting absorbed. So just want to reiterate that, because sometimes it's like we know that, but we just need reminding. But a hair test definitely can be helpful, and but we don't want it to become the only thing we pay attention to. But it can really give you some great data as far as from a 3-month period. And, just in thinking about stress, I mentioned stress was one of the reasons why you might not be absorbing what you're taking in. So a lot of times it's good to think back like 3 months ago. And that will give you maybe a good indication of what you're experiencing now. How do you feel right now? First of all, that might be a really great indicator as far as are things absorbing. Obviously, you can feel good, but yet have deficiencies, but that might be a good marker. What happened 3 months ago that might be affecting you now? Are you a little bit more stressed than you're realizing? Because sometimes stress is in different forms, for sure. And we're not going to go into that because that could be a whole other topic. But sometimes we're maybe a little bit more stressed than we would like to admit. Are your supplements appropriate? I'm not going to go into the best forms for this or the best forms for that. that will be left up to you to do some research on. And if you really want me to kind of dig more into that, I can. But I'm just going to go back to our food is the best source of these vitamins and minerals that we need. So those are just some questions that will maybe help you to see, because this is not a straightforward answer. I can't tell you, sure, you're absorbing everything you eat, or no, you're not. But the best marker I have is this hair test, because it will tell me where your stress levels are. It'll give me that good 3-month bandwidth. And it'll also say, you know, where are you at with these macro minerals, also where are you at with kind of the secondary ones. And then based on that, a good individualized approach can be taken to balance, to give you balance. And so that is what I do when I work with people one-on-one in this new group program that I'm going to be starting in January. This is going to be a part of that. So that's really how I work with people through the hair test. But lastly, if you kind of want to continue to DIY this, which is totally fine, just know that, remember I mentioned the 4 main minerals, which are sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. If they're off, they're going to cause other things to be off. So a great place to start is trying to start balancing those. And so I really like to start with a product called Bumbleroot. It's sort of like a whole food form of an adrenal cocktail. And so it has whole foods that have been powdered. It's a powder that you put in water, or I put in my smoothie. And it's a really great thing to kind of get started in the right direction without knowing where your levels are. And so that's why I said, if you want to continue to DIY, this might be a really good place to start. I have mentioned putting things in my water to drink to help. And so, well, this would be one of them. I didn't mention the Bumbleroot, but that would be one. It's in my Amazon store if you want to check that out. Another thing to do is just start to put a little bit of sea salt in your water. That will help the water that you consume to be able to work at a cellular level. Obviously, it's going to help with your sodium levels, but in turn, that helps you be able to absorb things better. Just putting a little pinch of sea salt in your water. Another thing that I put in my water is CT minerals. And this does contain minerals, but it also, the way that it's formulated and made, helps whatever you are currently ingesting, whether that's supplements or foods, to be able to work better. It helps it to be able to get into the cell to actually work. So those are just some tips for you to hopefully get you going in the right direction. And again, none of this is very straightforward, but that's okay. Overall, I don't want this to be confusing, because sometimes it's like, well, I just want to take a multivitamin and just be done with it. Take a multivitamin and be done with it for right now. But just know that this really isn't that complex. We have made it complex because of our lifestyle and because of the day and time that we live in. We're busier. We don't eat as well. Our soil conditions are not where they once were. There's just a lot of reasons why this has become complicated. But I'm trying to give you some tools and some information to kind of dig into to, see where you're at and see what might be best for you to move forward with. And I actually do talk a little bit more about this and just about overall giving you the big picture of how to move forward in your health and really get your health back in the most efficient and effective way in a webinar that I do, which is every other Thursday. So it's not this Thursday, it's next Thursday, but you can always go register for that on my website, karicoody.com/webinar, and look at any of the other ways that we might work together on there. And as always, I love to create conversation around this. So if you have questions based on this, please don't hesitate to comment under this video or just DM me. We can definitely have a conversation to see how I can help you, or I'd just love to get to know you guys. So let me know what questions you have from this, and hopefully it was helpful. And you can always share it as well. If you find that this was helpful, you can share it in your stories for other people to see too. All right, guys, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you later.